Okay, I'm here today with somebody I've known for quite a while, Delilah. How are you, Delilah?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. And Delilah's got a little bit of a story. She moved to a certain country in Latin America. I'll leave her explain, and she had a little bit of a problem. Do you want to explain about your problem and the solution and how it's going?
Sure. I have to start with a little bit of a backstory because this actually began about 15 years ago. I've lived in Costa Rica for a while back. And then I left, went back to the States and came back to Costa Rica. So this unfolded over the span of about 15 years or more. So in the first chapter of my life in Costa Rica, I was doing very well. I had my own business that was thriving, and I was engaged in local social life. And I made friendships, and one of them was a young woman who became a very close friend, and we stayed friends for many, many years. During that time, our relationship evolved a little bit because she would invite me to go on business trips with her to the States, and we went to Miami a couple of times, to New York a couple of times, and in two occasions she's asked me for a loan for business purposes, not large amounts, just a few $1,000s each time, and she paid me back without any problems. I never had to ask about it. I never had to remind her about it. So there was, as far as I was concerned, there was precedent. We had established that she's an honest person. Plus, she was a very close friend. So a little fast forward, she gets married right around the time when I decided to leave Costa Rica and move back to the United States. So at that point, a few years went by where we kept in touch, but I wasn't aware of every single issue, every single movement. However, I did understand that the man he married, first of all, her parents did not attend the wedding. And that seemed odd to me because Latin families are very, very close. So for a daughter, an only daughter, to get married and her parents not to attend the wedding, that seemed extremely odd. In retrospect, it should have been a great big red flag, but at the time it was just
This is this is one thing I say to
odd.
people.
And when I asked her why,
This is one thing I say to people. It's like just because somebody was trustworthy yesterday, it doesn't mean they'll be trustworthy today. People change.
yes,
So
and
obviously she changed.
people change, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. And people get involved with other people and become influenced by other people, which is what I believe happened in this case. Because when I asked her why the parents did not attend the wedding, she said, because my parents believe he is a scumbag. He is from a scumbaggy, trashy family, and he is way below me. I can do much better. I said, oh, okay. But like I said, at the time, I had moved back to the US, so I could not see things, firsthand. And as time went by, well, she was pregnant, she had the first kid. They were living in a tiny miniature, tiny studio apartment that was probably very, very cheap, because a rent in this country, it still is very, very much cheaper than the US, and much cheaper than Europe. But at the time was even cheaper than what it is today. So if they paid $100, 100 US dollars per month for a studio apartment with all utilities, I would say that stops. So at a certain point, she says, we can no longer pay the rent. We have to move in with my in-laws. Wow, things are really bad. And then I'm hearing the new husband is behaving very badly. He's out every night drinking and doing drugs and being involved with that crowd, and of course stepping out of the marriage bond, dealing with women here and there, and just on and on and on and on. So not enough money to live alone. The husband is a drunk and a drug addict. Then I hear the story about him having been to the United States and arrested for dealing drugs and deported. That's when I understood why her parents were so against the marriage, because they knew this is a convicted criminal. This is, it's above and beyond just being a white trash family. This is an actual convicted criminal. So I think this young woman who had been behaving normal and honest with me for so many years, my theory is, once she got married to this guy, is he's a natural criminal. His mind is always preoccupied with how to scam, how to steal, how to rob, how to do any and every kind of illegal activity. So I believe she fell under the influence of.
Let me jump in. You know what? I dealt with a lot of people over the years, and how many people been to jail and done everything? You get good people, you get bad people. And from my understanding of this person, he's just trash.
Yeah.
So again, it's one of the things, even though this girl might have been good and respectable, you got to, again, you're looking at people, you're looking at their backgrounds. Okay, what's the people like around them? I think in UK at the moment, just to jump in, just to sideline this, they found some female cops, a Metropolitan Police cop. Her husband was a drug dealer, known drug dealer. And again, she's not like this guy, because again, he wasn't like this guy because he's actually making money. But again, this girl is on minimum wage, well, on okay money as a cop, but they're driving around in flash cars, doing this, doing that. But again, they didn't even realize this girl who's a police officer, her husband was a drug dealer. So this is where, when you're looking at people, and I think I've said this to you.
Well, at least she continued.
Go on. Yes. At least.
She continued to be a police officer. She didn't give up policing to go join him into drug dealing.
Yeah, but this is where everybody's saying what corruption was involved there. Was she giving him information? She had access to everything else. But again, this is where people get in. You can say, yeah, they get in with the wrong people and they do influence them. So I think this girl, like you say, you can always blame the husband, you can always blame the man, but it's down to her to take on responsibility for actions as well.
Yes, of course. And part of my theory is that she had some latent criminal inclinations,
Mm.
that were under control during the time that she was under the influence of good, decent people. She comes from a very good family at local level. They're prominent, they're wealthy, they're well known. So for the time that she was influenced by her family and by quality people around her, the latent criminal inclinations didn't have the opportunity to come to the surface. As soon as she got together with an actual criminal, she started liking it. She jumped into that direction like she didn't even hesitate. She started liking the fact that you can benefit, you can have money and cars and things without working very hard.
Yeah, but
She
this is
liked it. It was within her.
a lot of people see that world as freedom, especially if they're not used to it, because they can do what they want. They think they can do what they want. They can rip people off, nothing happens, and then get away with it once and get away with it again. And okay, like you say, they get to liking it because it's a lot of freedom if they're coming from that structured background until they get caught. That's the trouble.
Yeah, she liked it. She definitely liked it. Um,
Did
and
anybody try to explain to her that the guy's a scumbag and, well, obviously her parents, but she didn't listen?
obviously the parents and the mother was at the beginning was helping her a lot financially, especially after she had the first kid. The mother um, bought her a car, so she's a young mom not having to drag the baby on the bus. Uh, the mother provided quite a bit of financial support, and at a certain point, because of what was happening in the family, the mother said, no more. Whatever you guys are doing, it's not to my liking. So she withdrew her financial support to the point that she took the car back. She took the car back and she distanced herself from the daughter. And I heard the story. The mother has a very nice house here in town, and she also has a very nice luxurious timeshare at one of the beautiful beaches of the country. And I heard that the mother was taking somebody else, another young woman who was professional and living in a straight line, not committing any kind of crimes. So she chose to take a stranger with her on vacation rather than her own daughter because of this reason, because she was so involved in this murkiness of the husband's activities and the husband's family. Oh, and the husband has another brother who is also a convicted drug dealer and skipped out on, I think he has 8 children by 8 different women, and he doesn't pay child support to any of them. So it's scummy, scummy, scummy.
But this is where, again, it's like you look at people, you look at the people around them. Somebody might be respectable, but who's their associates and what they're doing on the side? Because again, that's the influence. So skip forward to what happened.
Okay,
What was the issue?
forward. So a few years of marriage. And by this time, I was living in the States. And they started asking me to come back. Why don't you come back? You'll be with us. You get to see the kids. By now, there is a second kid. You get to spend time with the kids. The poor kids, they don't have another grandma. They only have one because the other grandma doesn't want to see them. So it was just the kids, the kids, the kids. And by the way, here is an idea for a great business. We can set up this great business. And I was presented with the idea. I looked at it, I researched it. I asked people what they thought, people around me that I trusted their opinion. I asked and I was told, yeah, it looks pretty good. So I went ahead and I invested a lot of money in setting up that business here in Costa Rica. I paid for this woman's travel to Colombia to go get trained for the new business. So I paid for the training, I paid for the travel, etc. Then they asked me for help because the husband had run into trouble. He was operating a lawn and garden maintenance business. So the truck broke down, hence he can't work. And we need him to work because he's the main earner. And could you please help us and buy him a new truck? Again, for the kids didn't have food. So tugging at the heartstrings. I said, of course. So I sent money for him to buy a truck, not a brand new truck, a secondhand truck. Nonetheless, a big truck, functional, that's good enough to run a lawn care business. And then it was, well, you know, he has that bigger truck that just needs a new engine. And if we can fix the bigger truck, then we can sell this truck you just purchased, give you the money back. Okay.
So again, you're helping them out financially.
It makes sense. So I send money for fixing.
So you're helping them out financially because you saw this as business. This was not only was she a close friend, but also this is business. So they paid you back in the past. There's no problems, right?
Correct. I had absolutely no doubt because, like I said, precedent. It was business. She asked for loans. She paid back the loans. I never had an issue. This time it was business on a larger scale. We're setting up a business for her to run, operate, work in, etc., produce income, both of us. And he was just the husband and he needed help with his business. And also they offered like the following information. They said, you know, we own land here. I said, yes, I know. Land that was gifted to them by parents. So in the event of whatever issues, you have nothing to worry about because we will sell a piece of land and we will give you the money back. I didn't put anything in writing because, again, it wasn't the first time we had business dealings. In the past, everything was fine. I by that time I had known her 12 years or 13 years. There was absolutely no reason. Maybe on the surface there was no reason. Maybe there were red flags that I ignored. I don't know. But basically, yes, it was all business.
So what happened? You put the money down there, you set up the business, you sent it for training. What came next?
Yes. I set up the business, I sent her for training, I bought a truck, I fixed the other truck, and now the business is launched. But like any new business, it needs a little more help. You gotta, market it and promote it. And so here we go. We organized this big, massive event at the local, I think the local Hilton. That, of course, financed by me, another few $1,000s, this big publicity event. And so basically, I kept putting money into the business, which I think it's normal for a new business, needs a lot of help in the beginning. But she wasn't working. She wasn't producing. She wasn't. And I was in the States, and I couldn't, not being right here, I didn't have a real great sense of what was really happening. And I think at that point, I started being sort of in denial, because all the excuses she was giving me, if I had looked at the excuses logically, I would have probably recognized was just BS, bullshit. But I just wanted everything to be good and right and correct. I wanted it so badly that I chose to ignore. From that point on, there were quite a few red flags that I chose to ignore them.
So what happened?
So what happened was, and then she wanted a car, because it was difficult with 2 little kids and the business. And so I bought her a car. And in one of my quick trips here to Costa Rica, we went to the bank, and I put her on my bank account. I authorized her on my bank account so that she could take money and spend without my knowledge or my permission. And she proceeded to take money from my account and purchase a timeshare at the beach, which I didn't know about until months later, when I went to Costa Rica again, and I went to look at my bank statements, and I saw some transactions that I couldn't recognize. I even challenged the bank. I said, wait a minute, this is a mistake. Can you please investigate? Because I think you gave somebody some money that, you shouldn't have. And the bank, people at the bank, they know me for a long time, and they took me seriously, and they investigated, and they were able to provide me with a copy of the contract that she signed for the timeshare, and they gave me all the supporting documentation for her purchase. So I was like, oh, okay. So it is from the bank point of view, it's the correct transaction. And basically she wasn't working. And if she was working, she wasn't reporting to me the income. Everything went directly in her pocket. I didn't get to see anything, or just very, very like minimal. Like she would throw me a bone every now and then, just say, I had a client, and here's $50. But $50 at that point in time, we're talking, my investment was about $40,000. So they just took that money and used it in the way they saw fit for their benefit. And when I came to Costa Rica with the intention to stay for a little while in my mind to try to take control over the situation. Well, there was nothing to be done. There was no taking control. The situation had slipped out of my control a long time ago. So being here, I would ask every day, where are the clients? How do we get clients? Let's do this, let's do that, let's do some marketing, some PR, let's do social media, let's whatever. Let's make an effort to bring the clients in. And we did. But then I realized she doesn't like to work. So all my efforts of marketing and bringing clients in were all for naught, because at that point, she realized, oh, I'm going to actually have to work 6-7 hours a day, every day. And she got very upset and she quit. She just said one evening, she said, I'm stressing her out. The pressure I'm applying, it is so stressful for her that she's not interested. And she quits. And
Again, you were saying she quit. She couldn't really quit. She's your business partner. So she just said, okay, after all the investment, after all the time, okay, that's it. No more.
but that's how she said, I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. I'm done. And the locale that we had rented for the business, again, the contract was under her name because I wasn't here, and trusted her to go ahead and do all the paperwork. It was, of course, even easier for me. I don't have to fly here for every signature. So because the locale was under, the contract was under her name, first of all, when you vacate, the security deposit goes back to the person that put it down, not me, but her. And being under her name, she was in complete control. And she had the nerve to tell me that day when she said, I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm not interested anymore. I'm not doing anything. And by the way, you have 24 hours to go get the instruments and the furniture and everything that I had purchased for the business. You have 24 hours to go get it out. And after that, I'm changing the locks. So I thought, okay, that's really nasty, but I can do it. So I went the next morning, I went with a truck and I loaded everything up to the last paper clip and took it away and put it in storage. And at that point, I started asking, okay, you're out, you're done, fine. You're under no obligation to continue working with me, collaborating with me, being my business partner, whatever. But now I need my money, because if you're out, you're out. Then I need all the money that I invested in this business, and all the money I invested
Because
in
again,
your
she
husband's
continued
business.
doing the business, right?
No, she couldn't. Once she said, go get your equipment and furniture out of the locale. And I did. She had nothing left to work with. I'm pretty sure she thought I was not going to be able to get everything out in 24 hours. She was counting on me throwing my hands up in the air and saying, I can't do this. And now she has the locale and she has all that she needs to continue working, and she would have continued working, but I pulled a miracle and I went the very next morning with a truck and I took everything out. So she couldn't work anymore.
So it wouldn't surprise me if she'd been planning this for a while, right?
Yeah, she was planning it all along. She was most likely working and telling me there is no work, because every time I would ask her, how many clients did we have this week? 2 or none. And no, I don't think that was true. I think she was making good money, just, oh. And then I started investigating, and I discovered that she had taken out a credit card processing machine so she can charge credit cards, one that I knew about from my bank. And then she took out another credit card processing machine from a different bank that I didn't know about. So she was running whatever clients were coming in and they could not pay in cash. She was running the credit cards through the other bank that I knew nothing about. So I started investigating on my own, following different trails. And I saw that she had every intention of defrauding me. She wanted the proceeds of the business just for herself. And I started gathering evidence.
So what happened with all this? We know you worked out she's a scumbag, she's defrauding you. So what action did you take next? Did you?
I went.
Go on.
I went and looked for a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
I found a lawyer. It was recommended by somebody who knew them for a while, and they said this is one of the few lawyers who's going to be straight with you. He's not going to, charge you for things that cannot be done. And I went and I spoke to the lawyer, and I said, do I have a case? Absolutely, you have a case. So I was tasked with gathering all the supporting documentation, which took me months, because Costa Rica is a great country, but it's not known for speed in anything, especially paperwork. So I gathered all the supporting documentation, and the lawyer put together the lawsuit for scamming me, I think. Yeah.
So how's the legal system there? Is it difficult?
It included both her and the husband. It took a long time for me to gather all the documents necessary, because one day you go and you request, and then they tell you, go home, back in 2 weeks, and you go back in 2 weeks. It's like, do you have the thing I asked for? Yeah, but it needs another signature, and the person who needs to sign is not here right now, so come back next week. Anyway, it's time consuming, and it's very, very involved, because they like paper. So paper, nothing is digital, nothing can be digital. Everything is paper, everything is signature upon signature, go here, go there, go upstairs, go downstairs, go to the next down.
It's just like the rest of Latin America and the Caribbean.
Yes, just like that. Just like that. So after this, whatever number of months that it took me to gather all of that, then the attorney put the case together. Now, something that's worth mentioning in this country, in Costa Rica, you cannot file a frivolous lawsuit. In other words, in the United States, you wake up one morning and you feel like filing lawsuit against somebody, you just go and do it, right?
Right.
You can either file yourself. You don't even need an attorney. And it's accepted right away. Well, in this country, the attorney with all the supporting documentation has to write, I'm not sure what the actual term is, but let's call it a presentation.
Mm-hmm.
The presentation goes to a judge. The judge reviews what the attorney is presenting in the document, like the claims that are being made. And it has to be together with all the supporting documentation. So the judge takes the time to look through all that and make a determination. Is this lawsuit a valid thing, or is it a frivolous lawsuit? That takes another number of months. I think it was 6 months or more. At which point the answer came back from the judge. I reviewed, and yes, this has merit. This is not a frivolous lawsuit. It has merit. Therefore, I will accept it. So at that point, the lawyer has to write up the lawsuit exactly the way it should be written, and take the same exact package of supporting documentation that the judge has already seen, put it together, take it to the courthouse. At the courthouse, they stamp it, received, and that is the crucial point. It is accepted by the judicial system, received, which means it has merit, which means a judge has already looked at everything and said, yeah, we're going to go after these people because this is a real lawsuit with a solid basis. And a few more months went by.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that the people involved, this woman and her husband, are about to flee to the United States.
So they knew
we should prevent that from happening. Sorry?
They knew about the lawsuit. We've got a delay on the internet here. So they knew about the lawsuit, yeah?
Yeah, they knew. And how? Because the husband has a distant cousin who is an attorney here in town. So he was aware of what's happening. It's a small town, so everybody knows everything and everybody. So the cousin told them, hey, Delilah filed a lawsuit against you. So they wanted to take off. Mm-hmm. She had a visa for the States, had been renewed recently because, you know, again, that's part of who she used to be. She qualified for a tourist visa for the States that she's used numerous times to do exactly what she's supposed to do, go and come back, go and come back. Mm-hmm. Her children, at this point, there are 3 children altogether. All her children had passports, and she had obtained visas for the United States for all the children. She was in good standing everywhere. So he was the only one who would have had to cross the border through Mexico. So my attorney got in touch with the U.S. Embassy here in San Jose, and we alerted them, this person with her kids is trying to flee for this reason, that reason, and we're asking you to please revoke the visas. And the U.S. Embassy refused. So they left. They left, and now I don't know where they are. They're just got swallowed into the millions of illegal immigrants in the States. I had a very good idea they're in New Jersey because that's where his brother lives. By the way, his brother is an American citizen. He's the only one of the siblings who was born in the U.S.
So the guy, the husband, did he cross through Mexico, or did he cross through Mexico?
Yes.
Okay.
He flew to Mexico, which Costa Rican people can fly to Mexico without a visa.
Mm.
And from Mexico, he crossed, you know, in one of those bunches of, you know, the caravan with the famous caravan of South Americans and Latin Americans.
The border's open, so it's not particularly hard for somebody with half a brain. So, go on.
The border is?
I said the border's open, so it's not difficult for anybody with half a brain at the moment to get into the US.
Yeah, this was 2-3 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah, so they got in, and I lost track. I would hear from people that, oh, somebody saw them in New York. He's working in New York for a construction company. Oh, she is somewhere in New Jersey working for somebody under the table. I have a couple of stories about each one of them working in the US. I don't know if you want me to talk about it or not.
Is it involved corruption?
It involves who they are and how they continue doing what they do best.
Scamming people.
Yeah. Trying to steal the customers, like in the construction business, he talked to a few guys, and he said, you know, the boss is charging X amount of dollars for a tile job. I can go into the office and steal the information, and I can call this customer and offer him a severe discount. Let's all go and do the job for half the money. She was doing the same thing. A woman who gave her work. Also, she liked her so much because she is one of those very charismatic personalities that ingratiates herself very easily with just about anybody. The owner of the business was so charmed and taken with her that she gave her the task of looking after her own elderly mother. I have an old mom, and I don't have so much time, but she needs assistance with the grocery shopping. We were going to the doctor, a little bit of cleaning, a little bit of cooking, just light, but mainly taking her around. And the criminal woman said, oh, I'd be happy to take care of your mom. However, I don't have transportation. Oh, that's it. Boom. So the lady bought her a car that she could keep for herself and use for herself as much as she wanted, and, you know, do the occasional once a week grocery shopping, and, you know, once a week taking the old lady to the doctor.
This is, again, it's strange. Me, especially going through the immigration system in US, as you know, I was there on a green card for how many years, etc. And you hear people being there working illegally. I take it she must have had a driving license. It's like, if you do things properly, you have to jump through hoops. You have to prove this, prove that. Where's this document? Where's that document? Going to DMV. I know going to DMV in Florida is like going to South Florida is like going to the zoo anyway. But it's like, then you have to prove who you are. Do you have a passport? Do you have this? Do you have whatever? Well, you know what I mean? So it makes me laugh. And in some ways, you see illegals in there doing whatever. Okay, I understand that a lot of them are trying to do better themselves. But if you try and do things properly, you get screwed from every direction. So it seems screwed up that people can go in, work, get this, get driving licenses and do whatever, and they're legal in the country. But
That's right.
so I take it
And
again.
let's take it one step further.
Well,
I am an American citizen. And you cannot imagine the hoops I have to jump through at the DMV in Florida to get my license renewed as an American citizen, not green card. So that's the ridiculousness of it all. I don't know if she had a license, probably not. If she did get a license, it was one of those. There are a few states that are not very hardcore on giving licenses to people. Or she drove with no license. I don't know. The fact is, they got jobs. She got 2 jobs, not 1. And the 3 children were in school, in public school. Probably the little one was in some kind of government-sponsored daycare, like for low-income moms. And the other 2 were in actual school that is financed by taxpayer money.
So they're in the system.
So why are we paying for illegal children to go to school? I don't know.
Now jump ahead. What happened in the end? What happened? What happened?
What happened was that they lost the jobs, obviously, because if you're going to backstab the person who gives you work, if you're going to bite the hand that feeds you, the hand that feeds you is going to shake you off and throw you into the street. So they became unemployed, and he decided that the easy, simple way to make money was to go back to dealing drugs, which he did, and he got caught. So he is currently in custody by ICE, the Immigration Services, and she cannot be taken into custody because of the children. Because what happens to the children when mom goes to jail? So even though ICE is aware of her, and also it's her first offense. So somehow it really doesn't matter that you were illegal in the country, that you've been working illegally, that you are illegal in a country. It's your first offense, so you get a pass. And I sent to the New Jersey office, I sent all the documentation from here, from Costa Rica, and I said, well, these are not just regular, everyday illegal immigrants. And like you said before, there are some of them who just go and want to work and make a better life for themselves and keep their head down and keep their nose clean. Fine, just go do what you need to do. But when you have criminals, and so these are fugitives from the law. These are not just the run-of-the-mill.
What happens to them? Just clarify to people. What happens to them when they get back to Costa Rica?
What happens to what?
What happens to them when they get back to Costa Rica? As soon as they arrive in Costa Rica?
In this case, these people, they're wanted. The judge has issued an order to be apprehended at the border. So as soon as they step back into the country, they will be arrested. Any other illegal immigrant that gets deported, nothing happens to them. They just get returned home, and they're brought to the airport in handcuffs. I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
They get off the plane, the handcuffs are taken off, and goodbye.
They're
Go
just
home.
that's it. Yeah.
That's it. Even in this guy's case, when he was deported because he had been arrested in the States for dealing drugs, there are no consequences in this country.
Same in a lot of places. Same in most
Unless in this case, there is an order to be apprehended at the border. So the judge wants to see them.
So the thing is, this guy now is in jail. The wife is out. The wife's just doing what? Living in New Jersey.
The wife is living in New Jersey, probably by the charity of friends and neighbors, and by probably some money that somebody from here is sending her, because she is unemployed with 3 children. One thing, wherever she is living, she can live rent-free because the law says you cannot evict a tenant in the winter. So until the end of the winter, she will continue to live where she is and not pay rent, and the landlord can't do anything about it. And for now.
So the guy is in jail now. He's in jail in New Jersey. He's on his 2nd conviction. He's in the country illegally. This is his 2nd drug conviction. When are they deporting him? Have they told you?
They have not told me. What they told me is that he has made a claim that his life will be in danger if he returns to his home country, which, even though it is not true at all, because Costa Rica has no persecution of any kind. No.
Well, the thing is,
no political persecution, no religious persecution.
Costa Rica is full of Americans and tourists. I was talking to somebody recently. They're like, they don't want to go to Costa Rica because it's full of German virtual workers. What do they call them? Cyber nomads or whatever.
Digital nomads.
Digital nomads. There's too many people there doing that type of thing, so they don't want to go to Costa Rica. It's too trendy. It's too normal.
It's too trendy, too good, too normal. You have the 2 categories. You have the retirees who come here to live peacefully and not so expensive lives, and you have the younger, middle-aged digital nomads who also like the fact that they can live in nice places for not a whole lot of money. Food is cheap. Food is good. I go to the farmer's market every week, and I buy my farm to table fruits and vegetables, and milk from the goat that's been milked the day before.
And it's a safe country.
Yes. So he's claiming his life is in danger by going back, because by association he's associating himself with the Venezuelans and Cubans and Nicaraguans and all the countries that truly have persecution, and truly some people have defected, have run away, and if should they be sent back for any reason, that's probably the end of their lives, or they'll go to jail forever. However, that's not the case here. So in New Jersey, apparently, if you make a claim, no matter how outlandish and outrageous the claim is, the judicial system and the immigration authorities, they are obligated to research it. So now we're in the process where he's in jail in ICE custody in the immigration jail, and his claim is being investigated. But I am being told not only that it's common knowledge that Costa Rica is a peaceful country, it's a good country, it's a country with no military. It's the Switzerland of Central America. That there is no persecution and everybody knows it. But also the fact that I sent the copy of the lawsuit in which the judge says, I want them back because this, and the lawsuit is a criminal lawsuit, it's not a civil lawsuit. It is a criminal lawsuit. They said that this will help and he will not get any kind of asylum or any kind of anything. I would like for her to be sent back as well. They said they're working on that. I said, I think the judge should know that she is not just a simple illegal alien. She's also a wanted criminal in her home country. But I think I don't need to be so worried about that because she will run out of money. Once the weather gets better and the landlord can evict her, the landlord will evict her. And how much longer can you survive with 3 kids? Somebody will take you in maybe for a little while. Somebody will maybe send you 1 month worth of rent, but it can't last for very long. So she will have no choice.
A new husband.
Sorry?
Unless she finds a new husband.
Yeah, but she's been trying that for a long time. Oh, that's another story somebody told me, that he is a Costa Rican who lives there, but he obtained his either his green card or his citizenship. And they invited him for dinner. And at a certain point, the husband excused himself and disappeared for a long time so that she could propose to the guest sexual favors in exchange for marriage. Sexual favors now, sexual favors later, all the time, anytime, just marry me. And the guy said, I'm a young, good-looking man, which he is. I get sex for free. And if you want me to marry you for papers, you better have $25,000 because that's the going rate.
Cheaper in Miami, they only charge 10.
So I know of at least one attempt of getting married for papers that didn't work out. I'm sure she's trying that every single day. It hasn't worked out.
That many people trying to marry for papers in the US. I've not heard of one case where it was successful. Because again, immigration's wise to that. And it's like even the people I know that I know, how many of them have been offered that, tried that, and it's all immigration's all over them. I know a couple of people that overstayed visas, got married for real in US, and they still had nightmares. So again, it's like it's one of those things. It sounds good, but you know what? A chick like that, she'll most probably hook onto some guy somewhere. The husband's
she's gonna try.
The husband's out of the way. He's in jail. Yeah. So
goodbye. But remember the kids. How many guys are willing to take on an illegal immigrant with 3 small kids, who the middle one is very sickly as well, very, very sickly. Just,
yeah, but guys are stupid.
Well, we'll see if there is one that dumb to take this on. So be it.
But again, if she marries without divorcing the other guy, then she can be in trouble again. So
she divorced him before they left the country.
Seriously?
With this purpose. My guess, not me, but my attorney was digging in through public records or records, and she ran across a divorce that occurred 2 months before they left the country.
Does he know about it?
Well, yeah, they both signed like they divorced each other. And I thought at that time, when we found out about this, I said, okay, so she is hell-bent on getting married. She left prepared for that, because he can get married. It doesn't matter. He can get married to a US citizen, but because of his prior conviction and deportation, he can never ever get papers.
In
But
theory.
she can. So by divorcing, she made herself ready and available to marry. But look, all this time had gone by, 3 years, and she can't find anybody to sign the dotted line.
Now he's out the way, so it'd be funny. But again, at least if he ends up going back, that's one of them. So the other one, I don't know. It's very difficult, especially with the immigration status at the moment, where they're, I don't know. It's a crazy world where people can do things illegally and you get rewarded instead of punished.
That's my story, and I have to tell you,
what did you learn from it?
A lot.
Like what?
I learned to pay attention to the red flags, to not push them out of the way, to not be in denial about anything. I am a little bit on the, what would you say, naive side. I trust too fast and too easy, and you've known me for a long time, and I think you can say that that's so. I'm very, very easy to trust. And I think in my mind is because I don't have criminal thoughts, therefore I shouldn't be suspicious of people having criminal intentions. I don't know if you follow that, right? If I suspect somebody of criminal intentions, that makes me a criminal in turn. So that's gone. That idea has gone out the window. I know who I am. I know I'm an honest, decent person. And if I am to suspect somebody of bad intentions, criminal intentions, lying, cheating, stealing, that does not reflect upon me in any way. So I got rid of that. I am much more careful nowadays. I look at new people in a completely different way. And I remember what happened painfully remember what happened. And I look and I say, well, you never know. This could be another one of those. So I'm much more careful. And like I said, in retrospect, I analyzed myself and my actions, and I realized I had ignored a lot of red flags. So that's another mission right now. Observe, identify, and do not ignore any red flags, no matter how small. So basically, I can say that ultimately, after the initial shock and pain, and because it was not just the financial loss for me, it was the betrayal. A friend that I've had this friend for 15 years, and she was so close to me, and she stabbed me in the back so terribly. That betrayal was an emotional pain, a horrendous emotional pain. So I had to deal with financial loss and emotional pain. But ultimately, I am grateful for the experience. I'm really grateful because I've learned so much, and I was able to make changes about myself that will allow me to move forward with more success.
When he arrives back in Costa Rica, what is he looking at jail time?
When he arrives back, he will have to stand trial. And depending on what the judge finds, he will go to jail. I don't know. I know there is a minimum for, you know, the way the lawsuit has been filed for it. I don't know the legal terms, but whatever he's being accused of, when he's found guilty, there is a minimum 1 year minimum. Like, there is absolutely no way he can escape without doing time at all. So minimum 1 year, but it could be more. Maybe the judge finds that he deserves to go to jail for more time. Like,
and she's looking at the same.
Yeah.
All right. Good. All right. So, if you have anything to say to finish up on this, I think for a lot of people, especially people moving to other countries, because again, the legal system, I think I said to you before, it's like a lot of people think the law doesn't work outside of the US. Well, outside of the US, outside of Europe. But again, there's legal systems in place, and as long as you get people that understand the legal system, the laws can be a lot more harsher and more effective than they can be in a lot of places. Because this case in US, it'd be just written off as civil.
Absolutely.
Written off as civil. It'd be extremely difficult to get this criminal.
Yeah, absolutely. They take the law very seriously here. And maybe this is why the crime rate is so low. This is a country of low crime rate. The local people are mostly opportunistic criminals. If you're going to leave your iPhone and your laptop on the front seat of your car, they will break the window to take it. But if you don't leave anything on the front seat of your car, they won't break the window just to look for something.
No, they will in London. They will in UK.
And I think in many other places. You know, so if you leave your bike outside in the street without having it chained, they will take it. But if it's inside your garage, they won't bother to come break into the garage to take it. You know, that's what I mean. It's, I don't know if it's a result of the law being strict, if it's a result of a cultural issue, if I don't know, but the crime is very low. I have never been afraid in the many years that I've spent in this country, driving or on foot or in public transportation. I've never been afraid. Nothing's ever happened to me. Of course, I don't go walking by myself at 2 o'clock in the morning. That I don't know how that would be. I imagine, you know, actually I don't have to imagine. I remember I was in a beach town, or very one of the most famous, most sought after beach towns here. Well, you hear English and German and French on the street a lot more than you hear Spanish. And I went with some other people, and one of them the next morning at breakfast said, "Hey, guess what? I was mugged last night. They took my wallet." I said, "Really? When did that happen?" when and where? Well, I was crossing the so-and-so bridge at 1:30 in the morning. I said, okay, then there you have it. What are you doing at 1:30 in the morning by yourself? Oh, I was coming out of a bar and I couldn't find a taxi, and I was walking to find a taxi, or trying to find my way to the hotel on foot. Okay, so don't be alone, and don't be alone at 1:30 in the morning,
Don't do
and then you're
stupid.
going to be fine.
So that's it. Most people cause their own problems, right?
So yeah, the law works, and it's a lot more serious, I would say. Just like the simple fact that if you think about it, they will not accept a lawsuit until they research it and prove it's not frivolous. That to me makes a big difference, and I think it's the way to do it.
Whereas in US, you'd be jumping through hoops for this, and this would be classed as civil. There's no way it would go criminal. Nobody'd be interested. You'd have big lawyer fees just to get this to court. Well, somebody would take it because you're paying them, and the chances are it would just be, I don't know if you get anything from them, because if they don't have any money, what can they pay you with? At least here.
They still have the land.
Okay, so you can get the land off them. But again, even if they didn't have the money, even if they didn't have assets, at least the guy here is going to be going to jail, or they're going to be going to jail because they screwed you over. In US, it would be like, okay, they owe you how much money they don't have, or something.
No,
but, okay.
they're definitely going to jail, and maybe the judge could order restitution and say, hey, you have this land, give her a piece equivalent to the amount you stole.
Good. So I hope it all works out, and I hope he's deported pretty soon, because again, they're all using up taxpayers' money, right? Anything else you want to add to this before we wind this one up?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything.
All right. Thank you, Delilah, for the story. And again, if I'll add in the comment section of this, I don't think you want people to reach out to you. I don't think if people need to reach out to you for this story, then they can reach out to me and I can forward things on to you. But I hope all this works out.
Well, in reality, there's nothing to reach out to me for. But if anybody is considering moving here and they have questions related to that, they can get in touch with you, and then you can forward them to me. I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody who has questions about moving here.
Questions about moving to Costa Rica, business in Costa Rica, and everything else, right?
Correct.
All right, no worries. So I'll add on a little bit in the comment section, but in the meantime, thank you very much for the story, and I will talk to you most probably in the near future.
Okay, thank you for having me.
All right, goodbye.
Bye.